Hello everybody, welcome to another commentary. This is not going to be a commentary from a replay, this is just going to be a 1 vs 1 match against Zerg. PvZ can lead to so many issues. For example, look at it this way, if you get 6 pulled and you don't have that first zealot out, you're pretty much done. But, if basically there's just going to be PvZ, how you can counter anything that they do, because there's a counter to everything, and how to switch over your strategy very, very easily. Basically, you're just going to start with a simple opener at 9. You want to make sure you have 1 probe pumping out. The second that you get that 100 minerals, you need to make that pylon. You don't want to be late on anything. At this point, you're going to want to scout. I'd say hotkey your scout. Try and make sure that if you need to know where he is, you can just find him like that, just by double hitting the hotkey. So, what we're going to be looking for in the beginning of this game is, okay, is my opponent going to 6-pull me? Is he going to push into my base really, really early? Or is he going to try and tech up to something like Mutiling or maybe Roach Hydra? So, that's what we're going to be looking for in this beginning scout. When you get about 11 or 12 on the supply, you're going to want to make your gateway and just keep on pumping out probes. And now that we are in my opponent's base, it looks like he's going to be teching up. He already has that first extractor. That's kind of early. But trying to harass him a little bit. Switch over the hotkey so you can hotkey other stuff. So, like right now, my probe is running around in his base, and I still have him hotkeyed, except for I also have my gateway hotkeyed, etc. Alright, at this point, since that he's taking up, so can we. So, once you figure that out, you're just going to want to go ahead and set up your tech. Get out that first... I think that's it for my probe. Get out your first assimilator, and don't build any units until you have, you're going to want to build that first zealot, but don't build any more until you can start making tech units. So now that your first gateway is done, push out the zealot and make your pylon and a cybernetics core. Do not make another gateway until you have a somewhat of a good army out. Alright, so at this point you need to just be trying to get up to 100 gas before the cybernetics core is done. That's sort of the goal here. And then just sort of keep the zealot by your mineral field, actually, because you don't want those zerglings to be able to get in there too easily. So just for now, just keep your units in there. Again, don't push out any units. And I sort of screwed up here. I don't really have everything that I should. All that I'm having is gateway, warp gate being resource. So if you are going to be a little bit late on that, go ahead and make another zealot. Which I didn't think that I would be, but because I have some extra money, I'm just going to throw up an extra gas. And you should have enough money to actually throw up your second gateway at this point. So make sure that you don't have more than 1 or 2 probes in queue, so that you can just constantly have a sort of constant production type thing. At this point, you might want to get out this stalker, because you don't want to have to deal with this overlord too much. By this point, you're probably supply blocked by, like me, or you're not getting out that first stalker. So go ahead and make that pylon. And just keep a constant production of probes out. And be sending some probes over to the geysers, little by little. Alright, so pylons should be done, and now we can really start focusing on production of units. You're going to want to throw down a sentry as soon as possible, because you don't want them being able to come through your front door. And, you know, if they do come through your front door, you got to be ready. So, you'd rather be guarding your front door. Alright, the best thing to do right now, since that I was a little bit late, I'm going to stop chrono boosting probes, because I'm already almost fully saturated, just about. Just need these last 2 things to come out. And at that point, I'm pretty much done. I can go in for an attack if I want, but warp gate has to be finished, which it just finished. And I think, since like he was teching up, I'm not going to tech up too much, but I'm going to be pushing in. At this point, you're going to want to grab the Zelnaga towers, or as I like to call them, the eyes, and just keep a constant production of units back in your base. Once you really feel good about pushing in, you got to push in, because against Zerg especially, they could go Mutiling, and they can have control over you the whole entire map. You don't want control over the map the whole entire time of the game. You don't want that. You want to be able to Keep that off your back. Okay. At this point, he does have some of his forces, not very many, just a 1 supply amount, not really guarding. So I'm going to go ahead and push in to the top Zalnaga tower, take that down, and at this point you're going to want to set up a proxy pylon next to the opponent's base. It's always a good idea. And I mean, you don't really know what the other... I mean, we didn't tech up enough to the point where we don't really know what the opponent's doing at this point. All that we know... Oh, snap, he doesn't have that one. You go around here. I'm going to be going through the back rocks. To the point where it's kind of like, he's not going to be pushing in. So, we don't really have the tech, though, at this point, to actually have observers out, which is kind of sad. But pretty much all that you're going to be doing, you want to first of all, when you get in there, see if you can actually finish off his whole entire army, see if you can take him down early in the game. Stupid Zergling. At this point, though, you really got to be focusing on your APM. You have to be constantly warping in units, zealots, etc. And I'm going to be setting up my second proxy pylon. I'm going to wait for the rest of my army to get here. And no, I'm not going to expand, because I really don't know if I have a better army than this guy or not, so I need to be focusing on other things right now. Alright, so my army isn't amazing, but it's decent, so I am going to be pushing it at this point. And you can see that he was not guarding his back door, so there's going to be a little bit of a hard thing to do. He's not going to be pushing into this crevice, and all that he has... Yep, Roach Hydra, you're going to want to wall off the Hydras especially, and throw down a shield. Because at this point, you're probably going to be fine. Micro out a little bit. Keep on warping in reinforcements. At this point, considering his army, just warp in Stalkers. Make it look like you're going to retreat, and then push in all the way. So you can get some free shots. I'm experiencing like a huge amount of lag right now. What the heck? Alright. I think it's safe to say that you can go ahead and expand at this point. But try and keep on warping in reinforcements as you're expanding. But yeah, overall you will be okay. I mean, I could probably end the game right here. Just have seriously got to throw down some really, really good micromanagement here. And he's going to try and harass me there. And at this point I am running out of... Why is he seriously doing that right now? That's kind of bugging me. Just throw this dude in there. Alright. So, I'm going to push in again. You need to keep on that pressure. Keep on the early pressure. What's been screwing me over and over and over is this Nidus Worm. Nidus Worm. I don't know what you would call that thing. I forget. Wow. Spine Crawler. It's just been getting in my way constantly, and I'm trying to pull away whenever a lot of my shields go down because I don't want to lose those at this point. He's trying to throw up another Spine Crawler, which I don't want him to be able to do at this point. And I think this time the army is definitely in my favor unless this Spine Crawler gets finished off. I'm going to try and do some micromanagement here. And you just sort of need to keep the pressure on at this point. You have your expansion. You're pretty much able to do a lot of stuff right now. I don't know if he's expanded, but I'm pretty sure that he hasn't. And I'm going to try and take down this evolution chamber. Just keep a constant production of units. You know, this fight I've won, but I don't know what he has behind his back. I'm going to try and take down some overlords, because at this point I need him to get supply blocks, so he's having to use a constant amount of micro. And you want to force field off his drones to one side and then start picking off his drones. And maybe he'll just leave at this point, I don't know. I don't know who your opponent is. But this is definitely hurting him in the face, which is really good. Now keep some of your reinforcements back until you really need them, and start working on your expansion. Remember, not more than 1 or 2 probes in queue, because you really don't want to use up too much money early. and if you do, you're pretty much stuck for the rest of the game, and you're not. It makes it pretty much impossible for you to have a constant production of units because you're constantly producing probes instead, and that's not really good. At this point, his economy is pretty much gone, which is exactly what I needed, unless he has a bunch of leftover money, which he does have a little bit, but, you know, this really is not enough. I mean, he's going to hurt some of my guys, but he's really not going to do enough. And what he doesn't know is about my huge, well, not huge, but compared to his forces, huge force behind his base that I'm just going to be pulling in here randomly. Yep, and he just sort of GG's out of the game. So, pretty much what you need to do in PvZ is you need to have a constant production of units rather than probes. I mean, you're going to want to have at least one probe in queue constantly. But what you're going to also seriously need to make sure that you have is at least 3 warp gates. Because, I mean, people say that you can have a substantial 4-gate going. It's true, except for it makes it pretty much impossible for you to expand. Because you're always going to be at 0 minerals the whole entire game. So, what you need to do is have a 3-gate going. Eventually, you'll have an extra 400 minerals. At that point, that's when you expand. And then when you have some more money from the expansion, you're going to throw in a couple more gateways and maybe some robotics facilities, or maybe even some stargates if you're that eager to go for flying units. So, keep in mind though, against Zerg, Hydras are like, it's mean to say this, but in my opinion, they are a little bit overpowered against air. Just kidding, they're really not that hard to fend off. Pretty much, Hydras are the best, other than Corruptors, they are one of the best air units, one of the best anti-air units. Sorry, I'm just losing my words everywhere. And so you gotta watch out for those. So once I saw the Hydras, I knew that he was indeed teching up, and it was a good time to push in. It was a good time to expand. So pretty much, you just do everything. Your strategy depends on the other guy's strategy. Let's say that he's going mass lings. Just get zealots, and then try and transition as you're making zealots. And if he's going roaches, go zealots and stalkers. If he's going hydras, you just gotta have a really, really good APM, and you really have to make sure that you can get in there early, like I did. So pretty much that's how it's done against Zerg, at least in the Platinum League. I don't know what it's like in the Diamond League. I mean, those guys are just crazy. So I really don't know what to say at this point. There you guys have it. A pretty good way to fend off pretty much any Zerg player whenever they go Roach Hydra. Mutiling, basically, the way that you'd win with that strategy against Mutiling is you're just going to be pushing in at that point, and they're not going to have like almost any Mutalisks out. And I mean, I had 5 Zealots out, which if you think about it, 1 Zealot that gets surrounded by 4 Zerglings, the Zerglings die easily. So imagine 5 Zealots that don't get all the way surrounded. Like, how much would they be able to take on? I'd say it's somewhere around 30. So he's going to be mainly focusing on the tech up to Mutas, which takes quite a long time. Because, I mean, you have to get a lair, which takes a while. You have to have out a spawning pool. They're pretty much T3 units. Whereas everything from the gateways are T2. Or T1. So, well, Zealots are T1, but everything else is T2. From Warp Gates, everything is T2. So at that point, basically, once you see that he's going with a Spire, you need to push in, you need to keep on the pressure, and then eventually snap down the Spire and have a bunch of reinforcements coming in. That's pretty much, I gotta tell you, Zerg is really, really easy to counterattack until you let them into the late game. So, that's pretty much all that I gotta say. I'll see you guys next time because I gotta get going, and this is about to hit the 15-minute mark, which is, I mean, YouTube doesn't let that, which is kind of uncool. But I did get a new graphics card, so a lot of more commentaries coming up, more tutorials, and pretty much all that jazz. So, if you guys enjoyed this, please subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.